putting on frame sliders on the Ninja race bike. These are Shoguns. So first thing you have to do is take off the gear shifter, because we're going to have to take off the cover for the sprocket. To get to the bolt back here is the back of the rear engine, and the other bolt is here, so we have to get them loose, and then we'll figure out where the frame slider goes. And my understanding is you're going to have to cut this plate as well. Right, so we've taken off the cover, 3 bolts. Take off the shifter, 3 bolts here, and then you kind of have to pry it back because it's got little tabs there. No big deal. It's original. It's the original chain on the bike, no doubt. And we'll probably change the chain today too, while we have it all apart. So we're going to take off this bolt. We take off this bolt for right now, and then we're going to try to figure out how we're going to support the motor, just so when we take that off it doesn't take any stress onto the motor. So let me pull these bolts off and then we'll figure it out. Okay, so we knocked the bolts flush. Alright, it's going to sit here. This one's flush here. And then we're going to knock the bolts through. And we got to pay attention when this bolt comes out that it clears that. While we had it out, there was a little rust spot on the shifter, so just doing a little quick touch up on it. A little semi-gloss black. This way, that'll look better anyway. Plus, there's no reason to leave a little bit of rust on it. So. Set it for 10 minutes for another coat. Okay, so got the bars in. Dropped it through there. I'm not crazy about is how that sits on my radiator. I don't want it rubbing. Just pull it off a little bit. I mean, it's sitting right on the radiator. I might just put another little hose there or something just to keep that away from there. So I don't think I can twist the hose or anything to get it out of our way. And then, you don't want that rubbing eventually catching. This panel back here, and probably trim it in a little bit there so that it gets around the bar, because right now it's not coming. I'm trying to figure out how much I'm going to have to cut. And right now I can't figure that out. So I'm just going to have to cut it and watch and cut and watch.
Okay, so the chain is off. Tool is pretty easy to use once we figured out the direction.
So basically it's a this is a brake. This is set on braking. So what you do is you basically line this hole up with the rivet pin, cinch it down, and then turn this in, and this pushes out the rivet. Out it comes.
Time for the new gold chain.
Okay, we have the chain sitting on there. Now I'm sticking the O-rings on the back half of the master link. And it's going to go in. Like so. Actually, looks like it's going to have to be tightened a little bit. Pulled back a little bit. I don't want to take a link out of it, because this is the same size as the other one was. Then it's going to get O-rings, and then this, and it's going to get pressed on. So. Alright, so we've now pressed on the master, and now we're going to have to take it off, and then we're going to have to rivet. So we're going to have to push the rivets in. So that's where we are. We're going to back it off and set it to rivet. And I just put this tape here just so, God forbid, I lose which one it is. Okay, so we've got basically the chain on. Got the side cover back on. As you can see, just had to be cut a little bit here. And I just put a little bit of touch-up paint on that. And then gear shifter. You know, it was a little rusty before, so I just figured I'd put some on. And now we're going to drop the fairings on. We have the side cover on, then we'll drop the pucks right in here and bolt them in. So the puck with the bigger one goes on the side of the exhaust. Smaller one goes on the side without the exhaust. Obviously, you're trying to avoid the exhaust being hit. Actually, what it's probably going to do is make the exhaust hit, but whatever. I mean, this is just to try to protect the bike a little bit. I mean, they are what they are. It's a race bike. Anyway, you don't have to cut the fairings with these. You do have to cut that cover for the sprocket though. And obviously you can't put the lower pan on until you get the pucks in.
Alright, so we got the Shogun frame sliders all buttoned up and done. They're tight. Now it is decent amount out from the exhaust, so it should probably save it depending on how fast you're going and how far it slides.
Now you're gonna have to put sliders on the bottom. Oh, you're gonna have to. You might have to put sliders where the your stands are. They make sliders for that. I don't know. It isn't really to protect that. Wipe it out. Wipe it out.
Now we're gonna finish putting it all back together, and we'll see you then.
You just gotta put the clips on it and then put the belly pan up.
Yep. And do the window and do the side.
You gotta put the plastics on the window yet.
Yep.
Loads of fun.
It's done.
Oh man, that almost hit my Ninja. That wouldn't have been good, and I wouldn't have been happy about that. Now have all the side covers on. All we got left is to put the window on. It's getting pretty good. Looks straight up and down. When we get done with it, we'll do a walk around, explain some of the stuff we've done to it in the past. Now we're going to put on the double bubble pluggy window. So we're done now with the sliders and the gold chain, and let me just do a quick walk around of what we did to the bike. Obviously we took a 2011 Ninja 250 with 2,500 original miles on it and clean title, and turned it into a race bike. So when we got it, there's had some issues with the flywheel not being tight enough, and it actually had some issues with the carbs. I cleaned them one time, got the bike running pretty good, but then when I changed over to the pipe, the carbs weren't working right, and I thought it needed to be jetted. I tried to jet it. Finally, I gave up. I gave it to Mount Holly Kawasaki. They took them apart and found out there were parts missing inside the carb. Wasn't from me, because when I clean carbs, I do them inside a turkey baster tray so that I don't lose anything. And both sides were missing these tubes that go in inside where the main jet was. And normally on most carbs those are pressed in. On this bike they are not. They are just seated in, or just placed in. So very easy for anybody that was in the bike before me to just turn it over and lose them and maybe not know where they went. I don't know if you guys remember, we bought this as a non-running bike. So anyway, we got the carb issue resolved, and then actually they turned around and rejetted it again because we had all the mid-range, low range, and high range now set up. So we actually brought it over to 100 main jet. So she's a little fatter than she was before. As you guys know, we put a full Two Brothers Black Series carbon fiber pipe on it. Changed over the pegs, over to ZX10 pegs, so they didn't have the rubber pegs on it. ASV levers, the unbreakable ones. The protection so that someone doesn't hit your brake or clutch when you're racing. They're actually a requirement now. Full body, armor body. Greg did the dip work on it, so he painted the bike. Coming back around to the other side, you got a gold chain, 520 DDI chain. Put the frame sliders on it that we were talking about earlier today. Put a hold down, so we got rid of the passenger pegs. Put a hold down on this side. Obviously this is a battery tender. On the other side, we actually used a factory bracket, but cut the peg off and smoothed it all out and painted it. So that came out pretty nice. Obviously little things like grips and and stainless steel brake lines we did front and rear. I don't know if I said that earlier. So I am officially done with this bike. I have now turned the keys over officially to Greg. There you go. It's his race bike. Knock himself out. Hopefully he doesn't kill himself. And we'll be down at Millville probably sometime this summer. But as for right now, thanks for watching the series. We'll probably do an update so you can see all the videos together. Do a mash in. But 2011 Ninja 250 race bike. Thanks for watching. As always, like and subscribe and hit that bell so you get our newest videos. We'll be doing some videos of the Alpha in the future. Probably do some track days with that. So like and subscribe, and let's get to that 1,000 mark so we can start doing something with this YouTube channel. Thanks, guys.